Welcome. My name is Oswald Sawh. I'm your host for Family Matters, brought to you by MAPS, Men Are Part Solution. MAPS, as you know, provides counseling services as well as transitional housing for both men and women. Today, I am very happy to welcome Kim Hickes, and Kim is the Executive Director of the YWCA. She actually has been in that position for almost 6 years now, Kim.
Yep.
Before that, Kim was at the Crisis Center for close to 5 years, and before then at the Boys and Girls Club. So Kim has some deep roots in Thompson. She's been here for a while, and we look forward to doing some Q&A on the Y. And Kim, beautiful day out in Thompson today. Great day to do an interview. So tell me, what's when we talk about the YWCA, you can give me a bit of a background on the Y for me.
So the Y has been in Thompson since the early 1970s, and actually was originally set up to be a medical boarding facility for women that had to travel to Thompson, primarily to give birth, but also for other medical needs. In the 1980s, the Y made a decision to extend its service to include men and families, and primarily still had a focus on providing medical boarding accommodations at a cost-efficient price. So obviously, it's evolved over the years to start including programming for Thompson residents and surrounding communities. And obviously, most recently, to address some COVID-19 response projects in the north. So that's in a nutshell the YWCA. It's primarily a women's, it is a women's organization, and so our primary focus is to try and assist women with all different facets or all different things that they're identifying they need. So.
Well, you know what I found very interesting with the Y, and as you said, it seems to have evolved based on the local needs in Thompson. And I find that actually quite fascinating because looking at the Y network across the country, and like I have no idea how many Y WCs are there in Canada.
I believe there's 35. I think
35?
three of them are kind of YMs, YWs. They're kind of an
Okay.
amalgamated model. But yeah, the YWCA exists across Canada.
Right.
They're all independent kind of YWCAs and would set up their programming or their services that they provide based on their community need in those areas. So, but primarily a lot of the Ys you'll see do women's services, employment programs, housing programs, daycares. Ys are famously known for having fitness centers and
Right.
daycares and after
Right.
school programs.
Yes.
So a lot of the larger Ys would have kind of those faucets of access to service. So, and we're all part of a national kind of affiliation.
Okay.
So the YWCA Canada, and then larger to that, the YWCA USA, and then the YWCA International.
You know, I didn't realize there's a Y International. So yeah, we have in the States. I've heard that, but it's across
Yep,
the
it's
world,
international. Yep. So
really.
YWCA World, and so they have YWCA's, and they'll work in partnership with Canadian and USA YWs
Okay.
to kind of have responsive projects in certain areas. So
Okay. Excellent. So when we look at Thompson, you were talking about some of the programs. Could you give some details about some of the local programs that the Y brings forward here in Thompson?
So I think our longest standing programs were employment based, and so we have kind of two separate sections in the Y. We have the assessment center, which assists adults as they make career development decisions, and the services are designed to address a wide variety of career development issues, and they include career decision making, educational planning and supports, career exploration, career development information, and job seeker assistance. And so this is a wonderful service, and many clients have come back to me and said, wow, I never realized, they do these inventories and determine, kind of your personality and what jobs kind of would fit kind of your personality or your interest area. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful service, and we have a great, assessment officer in that department that's been at the Y forever, Joanne White. So
Excellent. And I assume that that service probably works in partnership with the employment and training program through the province. In fact, do they partner with you officially, saying that you deliver this on behalf of them, or how does that work?
yeah, so our employment programs are actually the only funded programs at the YWCA, and they're both funded provincially. So we
Okay.
have the assessment center, and then we also have our Steps to Success classroom. And so Steps to Success is an adult literacy and workplace essential skills training. And so this is free,
Yeah.
as is the assessment center.
Okay.
And it provides, free training for adults who are, looking to improve their academic and workplace skills. They provide individual training that suits the individual schedule, as well as mini classes and workshops. Now, Steps to Success courses and workshops and things that they provide is a huge list. I'll list a few that people probably would be familiar with. So we, currently have our Essential Skills for Employment, which is a training program that goes over several weeks and kind of, provides these base employment skills, as well as, first aid, WMIS, and those types of things. Adults Drivers Ed, which you'll see kind of all over the all over the Facebook. It's an extremely popular program. But they also do, Money Matters. They do spelling, essay writing, proposal writing. They do a bunch of programming down there. We would be here probably for an hour talking about those programs. But there's two staff down there. We have, the instructor, which is and the coordinator of the program, which is Kat Kogel, and then we have another instructor, Audrey Brooks.
Okay. Yeah, and you know what? I suspect that the average Thompsonite is not aware of the full array of program you guys actually provide. So, from what you just went through, for an adult that's looking at re-engaging in the workforce, trying to get a good idea of maybe what's out there, what are some basic skills he or she would need to get, and also be able to get that by some sort of a service, the Y would be the main stop for that, correct?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
normally we would refer them to the assessment center for an assessment, and kind of kind of gauge where they might be wanting or looking for skill development. And then so assessment center and Steps to Success work extremely closely together.
Oh, okay.
And they work closely with UCN and other educational opportunities in Thompson. These programs are extremely popular. Whether it's just that you want to read, sometimes it isn't even about employment. Sometimes you just want to read a book to your grandchild,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so we have a lot of people come in, or maybe they want to, come in and have their math upgraded because they want to help their children
Right.
with their math homework. So there's a wide range of individual kind of services that can be provided to meet that individual's specific needs, so that they're not sitting in a program that has 90% of it really doesn't pertain to them, and only 10%. So I would welcome any Thompson person to come in and just have a conversation, even if you're not committing to a workshop. The staff in all these departments are extremely good at kind of sitting down and just talking about what they could do potentially for this individual.
Have you found in the last 12 months or last 18 months with COVID, has that changed the type of demand for your services, or has that been
Well,
more?
interestingly enough, we honestly felt like there wouldn't be a huge uptake because
Yeah.
most people were at home. But these departments did a wonderful job at ensuring that service was still accessible at any level that an individual needed it. So we actually had staggering numbers through COVID, and I think
Right.
there was a lot of people at home just looking for something to do. and thought this was a perfect opportunity. So our numbers far exceeded what we had projected was going to happen in the 18 months. And I think that's accredited to the staff and their ability to meet individuals' needs where they were. So, they were mailing out packages,
Yeah.
picking up packages, they were doing Zoom, they were doing Skype, they were doing Facebook, whatever they needed to do to connect that individual to what they were needing.
Wow, excellent. And you are listening to Kim Hickes for Family Matters. Kim is the executive director of the YWCA, and we are talking about just a whole lot of programs and services that the Y offers. So, Kim, based on what we just talked about, um, based on what you provide and from what you hear from clients over the years, what are some gaps that you feel exists currently?
Well, actually, I just want to finish talking about our programs,
Right?
because that was just our employment
Oh, that's
kind of
employment.
programs.
Continue then.
And so that was, those are kind of our long-standing programs that we've been doing for a very long time.
Yeah.
Another program that was added as a response to a community need was our Women's Resource Center.
Okay.
And so our Women's Resource Center, it's been open probably approximately, I think, 8 years. It was open just before I came to the Y.
I remember when it was first opened, the announcement, yes.
And so this is a wonderful addition to the community for, and really, we call it a Women's Resource Center, but really, it is a family resource center. And so there are staff on hand there to assist people if they're looking for something specific. Maybe they're looking for help in housing applications, or maybe they are struggling with daycare. Whatever that need is, we try our best to connect them to the appropriate resources within the community. So this center, obviously, during COVID, was not as active. In the sense of being open in the building. The staff was still, Nina Cordell, who's our women's programs coordinator, still provided assistance over the phone, again, through Facebook and those types of things. But what's interesting about this center is it has its center that, kind of is on site and provides, a place for people to gather, but it also does several other kind of community outreach events. And so if you would recall, they do March 8th, which is International Women's Day,
Yes.
honoring, women and young girls in Thompson. They also do December 6th, National Day of Action on Violence Against Women and Girls. And then, of course, they do Walk a Mile, and Oswald, you've participated in Walk a Mile.
Yeah.
Obviously, with COVID, we've had to be creative and reinvent kind of Walk a Mile. So I'm just going to put a plug in here for Nina. Walk a Mile will continue as it did last year virtually.
Okay.
And watch for Nina reaching out to the wonderful men in our community to participate in this great fundraiser. The other thing that happened in this COVID year, or in 2020, is the board of directors, in consultation with Nina and other staff at the YWCA, decided to create a bursary. So a Footsteps Forward bursary is what we call it, Footsteps Forward. And it's aimed to provide financial support to individuals who identify as a woman or girl and have a desire to advance their learning.
Okay.
So there's two streams to this particular bursary. So one would be furthering education, and so we will actually assist with expenses for short-term training or programs that don't require enrollment into a post-secondary institute. So maybe, a woman wants to take a 6-week course. We would be, we would accept an application for support for that, and not necessarily just for tuition or books. It may be that they can't attend because they can't afford daycare.
Right.
And so we would assist with things like that. And then the second bursary B of this Footsteps Forward, is post-secondary enrollment. So we will assist with expenses related to attending a post-secondary institution, whether it's full or part-time. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be tuition, a lot of bursaries are tuition and books based,
Oh, yeah.
and sometimes that's not the barrier.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not the barrier. So,
Wow.
so this department is extremely busy. Obviously, through COVID, we weren't open, but we still continue to provide services.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And our next.
Oh,
So
no,
it's like
continue.
I'm going to take the whole just on programs.
No problem.
And so the next program that we added was actually a transition program.
Oh, yes.
And so, the transition program actually operates out of the Y on the second floor. And it's, a short-term service intended to assist those that are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless by providing on-site support
Yeah.
with a transition mentor to develop skills, connect with community supports and resources. It's considered a stepping stone to allow time for securing longer-term housing, employment, or education in a safe and healthy environment. So this is an extremely popular program with a huge wait list. As we all know, housing is a major issue in Thompson, and being able to find somewhere to live is next to impossible, particularly if you have some barriers that you're facing in terms of skill development or maybe no history of rentals. So this program houses, it has 24 rooms, and so it can house up to 51 people. So it would be adults and children combined. So that was
Has that increased like through the last year? That need for the
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 There's a high demand, and it's hard because we are a social service, so it's difficult when people are coming in, individuals are coming in and explaining their story of not having housing, and we don't have the space.
Right.
So-
And I mean, and taking that forward, we're going to ask about what you feel are the gaps based on your clients and what their needs are and what you guys offer and what you feel still needs to be provided. What are your thoughts on that? On the gaps right now? Do you have?
Well, definitely, I think definitely housing is a huge gap. But when we talk about housing, what's leading to this? People not having housing, and so COVID's played a huge role in kind of more people not having housing or being stranded in Thompson. I think I get asked this question lots, and we have great resources in Thompson, and we do. We have great resources. We have Mama We Talk. We have MAPS. We have the Thompson Crisis Center. MYS. We have a lot of services, but the services are not enough to meet the needs of the population, and so we need larger services and more responses. And so housing's there, absolutely, right? But why are we in this predicament of not enough housing, and why can people not get housing? So we talk about addictions being a huge issue, and we have one primary facility that addresses addiction. And really, truly, we can't just consider Thompson's population when we're talking about addiction services or even mental health services.
Yeah.
We definitely, I could talk about this forever, but we definitely lack services, or from what we see from the Y, in terms of if a individual doesn't meet a particular criteria somewhere. So let's just say, at the crisis center, there's a particular criteria that you have to meet. And so what happens if you don't meet that criteria, but you still require a safe place? So we don't have access to those safe places for youth. Well, I should clarify, because I know for the youth they now have
the emergency housing.
The emergency housing, which was a great addition to the community. But if you're a woman and you have children, or if you're a man and you have children, and you have nowhere to go, the homeless shelter services 18 and over, but they don't service children. And so when we look at the Y and the clientele coming into the Y, lots of women with children, men with children
Yeah.
that aren't able to access any other service, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting with Thompson. I mean, we've spoken about this in prior shows. I mean, we have a population, I guess, officially of 13, 14,000, but our trading area is about 50,000,
Yeah.
and we do have a huge demand on those resources. Uh, it's interesting when you talk about that as well in regards to the working relationship that the Y historically has had with the crisis center. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I just wanted to finish my
Sure.
programs.
Sure.
Just trying to
No.
bump me ahead. I just wanted to add that, like, our latest program, which was a COVID response program,
Oh,
which
yes.
is our SHIP program, so our sheltering homeless in place. And so this was, I mean, this is primarily a COVID response project. And really, this was in response to an influx of people in Thompson that were homeless. And it was decided that, you know, early on that we really needed to try to, you know, provide housing to those in the homeless population that were at huge risk of contracting COVID-19, but
Right.
also at having really adverse reaction or outcomes to COVID-19. And because you talked about the trading area, because
Yeah.
we know there's lots of movement in the north, we knew it was crucial that we needed to address this immediately in Thompson to try to, you know, at least slow the spread, if not
Yeah.
stop the spread of COVID through the north. So,
Right.
so yes, in April of 2020, which would be our latest program that we added to the Y, was this program. And so it houses 25 of the highest risk homeless in Thompson,
Right.
and uses one section of the Y. So,
No, that's and you know the Y needs to be applauded for all the different programs that you offer, but also I think the fact that your programming really reflects the needs of Thompson and the region, and to have that full flexibility as an organization to be able to do that, that's great. I know you guys do a lot of partnerships with the Crisis Center and maps and so on, and I know we're out of time now, but I think we would need to expand more on that layer. I'd love to have you back again because I know there's a whole lot more that we need to talk about. I'd love to dive in a little bit more into more of what you think are the gaps and needs, because you know the lengthy history that you've had with the social organizations in Thompson. I know you have a lot of thoughts on that. So, in saying that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Family Matters. Today we had Kim Hickes, who is the executive director of the YWCA, sharing her thoughts and also a lot of good information on the programs and services that they offer. Kim, can you provide some contact information for any of the, like a first point of contact for some of the programs that you just went through?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I just want to say, yes, I would love to come back because I didn't finish on the gaps, but
All right.
I
No
didn't have
problem.
enough
We'll-
time to go through my
yeah.
programs. But so I would say, you know, if you're interested at anything that I've talked about today, or you just require some assistance, you can dial 204-778-6341. You'll get front desk reception, kind of explain what you're looking for, and then they would direct you to the appropriate department.
Excellent. Thank you, Kim.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone, for tuning in.